It's fine. You can put it on the button. It's not really
It's like, can you hit the mic?
okay. This is when I think it's muted. He picked my voice because for muted. Two people are watching. People are calling.
No worries. Okay.
Wait, give me a minute. Pause it. Especially to Leadership Agenda Summit 2021. It is my pleasure to have all of you here who join from around the world. We are living at such very special time in our history as a people. The world has been overwhelmed by all manner of issues and difficulties that calls into question, though, our philosophy of leadership as a people. You see, the only proof for wisdom is results. So at any point in time when the results we seek does not tally with our experience, it indicates that something is fundamentally wrong. And the only way to begin to chart a new course is to look at our philosophy, look at our approach, how we deal with issues. Now, that is the reason for Leadership Agenda Summit. Here, the idea is to come together, to learn, to connect, and to collaborate in solving some of the world's biggest issues, beginning with our communities. The truth of the matter is that the challenges of every generation belong to the people in that generation, never otherwise. In other words, all of the issues that we face as a people in this generation, irrespective of the continent where we might live, whether you're in Europe or Asia or South Africa or Middle East, makes little or no difference. It is our responsibility to solve the problems we find in our day and not otherwise. If we don't do that, no one else can do that for us. And that is the reasoning behind Leadership Agenda for Summit, because we will realize that these problems belong to us, and we must face them, we must solve them, irrespective of what those problems might be at this our time. So I want to welcome all of you that are joining from all around the world. This year is very special. We have some amazing speakers all around the world who are coming together to share insights, to share wisdom, to share their knowledge on how to deal with our issues. Because, like I said, the problems in our generation belong to us. We cannot excuse that. And while those in high office must do what they must do, it is ultimately our resolution as a people, as individuals, as private citizens, that determines how our lives eventually turn out. Societies move forward, nations advance when people rise up individually or collectively to take responsibility for the problems they find in their world. In this our time of difficulties in the world, it is our response to the issues that we find, no matter how complex, no matter how complicated, no matter how wicked or super wicked they might be, that will determine the results that we must have, whatever those results might be. So with these words, I want to welcome you especially to Leadership Agenda Summit 2021. And in the course of today and tomorrow, we'll be having some amazing discussions. Discussions around politics, around the economy, around leadership, and around all of the issues that we are struggling with today. I'm hoping at the end of the day, we're able to take away answers, take away ideas, take away insights, take away relationships, take away collaboration. Because, like I said, it is up to us to do something about the issues that we face today. So I want to welcome you especially once again, and I'll go right into the opening keynote. Remember, my name is Dr. Brian Ruben, and this meeting is being put together by the Brian Ruben organization. And you can get to learn more about all that we do by simply visiting projects.brianruben.com. If you go there, you'll be able to get all of the information about all the interventions we are making. And this is one of those interventions because, like I said, we realize that we must play a role in shifting the boundaries of our possibilities. We are committed to doing one thing, and it's shifting the boundaries of possibilities and ensuring that freedom is extended to every living person on it. So, with these few words, I want to welcome you once again. I'm going to encourage you to have other people join you, whether you're watching on some of our partner TV stations or you're listening on radio or you are watching on Facebook or YouTube, makes no difference. If you're on social media, do well to share this video with all the people. That way, it becomes very easy for a lot of people to also get the same knowledge that we are sharing today. That it can be your own contribution in moving the world forward. So I'm going to be talking to you about leading in complicated times. Leadership in complicated times. As you know, we are living in complicated times right now, and we are facing a complexity unprecedented. World hunger, terrorism, economic crisis, etc. have become big issues today. According to the United Nations, more than 690 million people still go hungry. And this is not because the world is not producing enough food. There is enough food because we also have lots of foods that are wasted every year. It's just become more difficult for us to manage our problems as people. And that is not supposed to be so. We're supposed to expect that as technology, advances, our problems will reduce. But it seems that the reverse is the case. It is as though as we advance in technology and knowledge, our problems become even more complex. But these issues are a test of our resolution, our knowledge, our wisdom as people living in this generation. I tell you, wherever you are, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, whoever you might be, all of us have a role to play. All of us have a responsibility. There is a place you're coming, there is a place I'm coming. And that is the only way we can move things forward by recognizing that successful people don't complain. They don't blame others and they don't make excuses. They take responsibility. When you're taking responsibility, you cannot be complaining at the same time. This is a fundamental understanding. What I find most times is that it is easy for us to forget the fundamental understanding that governs things. And once we lose track of the fundamentals, everything spills out of shape because the fundamentals determine almost everything that we do. So it is important we embrace the fundamental reality that successful people don't complain. Successful people don't make excuses. Successful people don't blame others. They do one thing, they take responsibility. In his days, J.F. Kennedy took responsibility. Martin Luther King took responsibility. Nelson Mandela in Africa took responsibility. And several others around the world. This is our time. This is our day. As our problems grow in complexity, so must our resolve to tackle these issues and bring in a new day. It is possible. I believe it in my heart. And that is why we are here today. I'm hoping that at the end of the day, you are able to receive inspiration and you receive knowledge that will help you produce even more results, irrespective of what it is that you do. So I say that we have lots of issues today. We have lots of dependent pieces to these problems of hunger, terrorism, economic crisis. We have all lots of interdependent pieces. And solving them therefore requires drawing on different domains of knowledge. That is why they are called complex issues. That's why they have become complex. But as complex as those issues are, as it is difficult to solve world poverty, as difficult as it is to provide food to more people all around the world, as difficult as those issues might be, our complex problems are also complicated by wicked problems. Think about COVID-19. In the wake of it, all of us focus on producing a vaccine, which we believe once we produce, everything will be okay, only to be disappointed with all of the repercussions that have followed the vaccines we produce. That's what you call a wicked issue, wicked problems. So you find these wicked problems are social or cultural problems. They are difficult or impossible to solve for a number of reasons. So we have issues like climate issues that are wicked problems, really. And some people even call them super wicked problems. The implication is that our complexity, our complex problems have become complicated by wicked problems. In other words, we are living in complicated times. But we must change the narrative. Changing the narrative is our responsibility. We must do that. And that is where the challenge of leadership comes in. Now, leadership is about change. The purpose of driving change is to extend and expand freedom. That's the purpose of freedom. That's the purpose of change. To ensure that more people have freedom. Freedom to be themselves. Freedom to aspire. Freedom to live lives in a full and rich way. This we must understand is the purpose of leadership. So in a complicated time, we need the ability to drive change that will extend freedom. People should be able to go out of their house and do what they want to do, work the jobs they want to do. We should be able to create jobs for the teeming population of young people all around the world. We should be able to empower businesses to become more productive. We should be able to have the right people in government who will make the right policies to drive life and make it effective. These are the challenges of leadership today in a complicated world. Right after this keynote, I'm going to be joined by a couple of ladies and gentlemen who will be having a discussion with me based on the issues I'm raising right now. And I'm sure they are all watching and taking notes because we have to bring clarity to people, all of the millions who are watching us and who are going to eventually watch this summit today. So the purpose of driving change, I said, is to esteem and expand freedom. But we must understand something very important, that leaders are tenants of time. And leaders are also tenants of context. Therefore, we must respond to perceived needs of today while developing capacity for the work that must be done tomorrow. We have complicated issues, and we must therefore develop the capacity to change, to bring change in complicated times without compromising tomorrow. That is why we need exceptionalism and leadership today. It cannot be business as usual. And because many have not realized this fundamental truth, we find that leadership is failing. We find that our leaders, those in leadership positions, sometimes are confused. But that is the purpose of this, to bring the understanding that leadership is not our position. All of us are leaders. And we're supposed to be leading change wherever we find ourselves. So you find these different categories of leadership. Because I just said now that many leaders are actually confused, not knowing exactly what to do, looking up to the other person to know what actions, what policies they are making, so that they might copy, hoping it works. And sometimes you copy this policy and millions are invested in driving this change, and it all becomes a wasted effort. Because we have leaders who are not prepared for their responsibility. You see, leadership is responsibility. We have leaders who are following their followers. Leaders are supposed to lead change, show the way. But we have leaders who are following those they're supposed to be leading, who want to listen to popular opinion and go along. That should never be the case. Then we have some other leaders who are keenly focused on their position. They wanted to understand that they are a congressman, and they are in the Senate. And as a result of that, they need to be listened to. We don't listen to you because you're holding a position. We listen to you because you are leading. If people are not listening, that should suggest that you are not really leading. If people are not listening, that should suggest that you are not actually leading. Maybe you are too keenly focused on your position. And I said when I began that there is a need to review our fundamental ideas, our fundamental knowledge about leadership. Whoever you might be right now, you're listening to me, you could be a senator or a congressman. You could be a mayor of a city. You could be in the civil service, whoever you might be. You could be a young person who is aspiring to get into college. All of us have a role to play. All of us have responsibilities. We should never find ourselves in pursuit of position rather than pursuit of change. Now we have other category of leaders who misconceive the responsibility of their role. Some people take up leadership positions and they become keenly focused on the gains and advantages that are attached to the office than the primary responsibility. And as such, they lose focus. And while problems are piling up, they are making policies that cannot sustain the people. The people are suffering more and more, and we are saying that this has got to change. This is the purpose of what we're doing today. Whoever you are, wherever you are, locate yourself within these categories of leadership. Ask yourself, am I prepared for my responsibility? Do I have the capacity to lead in complicated times? If you don't, please get it. There are different ways to get this capacity, but you must be prepared and understand that the lives of people, lives of generations depend on you. The happiness of people depend on you. People are not necessarily waiting for someone to hand them some relief package. They want to work. They want the dignity that comes from labor. If you are holding a position, you must understand that this is the expectation of the people from you. They don't want to fail and have you help them. No reasonable person wants to live on charity. So you have leaders who are absentee leaders. There's a category of leaders, you find them everywhere. They've taken a leave. They've forgotten that they are leaders. And you have many of them. Locate yourself among this and begin to make the necessary changes. But we need leadership, authentic leadership today. But for that to happen, you need a couple of things to understand. You need to understand. What is your view of people? What is your view of position? Do you see people as those who you're supposed to take advantage of, take what they have, seize what they have, enjoy why they suffer? You want to be that leader, that person who they adore because they cannot help themselves. True leaders want to help others win. They want to bring out the capacity in others. They know that the problems in the world cannot be solved by one person alone. So they want to build capacity in people so that we can all face issues, solve problems, and win. We don't hold on to positions. There are leaders who are too keenly focused on positions and don't even know that the position comes because of the responsibility for leadership. You must understand that. And then we have people who have a very wrong attitude towards assets and resources, especially communal assets. You find, why do we have bad roads in certain places in the world? Certain countries that are rich enough to have good roads. For example, Nigeria. It's not necessarily because Nigeria has a manpower. That's the biggest population in Black Africa. Tremendously powerful, large market. But you see, when people have the wrong disposition towards assets and resources, especially communal assets, when they see that position as the opportunity to take as much as they can of what belongs to everybody. You see, successful nations advance because everybody works towards expanding the communal resources, not trying to divide the cake as it were. You must also have the right view of activity and accomplishment, and the right attitude towards time, and of course, the right attitude towards recognition and reward. These are the drivers of leadership. And if you miss them, if you get them wrong, you're going to be a terrible leader. And we don't need terrible leaders at a time like this. So I say, if you are a terrible leader, think twice. People are getting more aware and more powerful. And you want to go down in history as somebody who led responsibility. You want to go down in history as somebody who helped build people up. This must be your understanding, your thinking today. Responsible leadership is accountability. You have to ask yourself, what is my true responsibility? What results are expected of me as a head of state, as a mayor, as a governor, as a congressman, as a senator, as a citizen? Because you see, I always like to help people understand that the most important position of leadership is the office of the citizen. That's the most important. A citizen is one who lives and protects and seeks to advance the cause of his city. It is a great word. So we must understand that as citizens we have responsibilities. As mayors we have responsibilities. There can be different degree of responsibilities, but we all have responsibilities. Like I said earlier, there's a place you come in. There's a place I come in. There's a place all of us come in. Let's not forget this. We must ask ourselves these questions. What results are expected of me? What do the people really want from me? What am I supposed to deliver to them? You see, when we think like this and we know the exact result that we need, remember, leaders, as leaders, we are tenants of time and tenants of context. So at different times in our history, there are different expectations that we need, that people require of us. We must understand it. We must understand it and begin to fix those issues that are of concern to all of us. And then we need to ask ourselves, who are the stakeholders? I'm occupying the leadership position. Who are the stakeholders? From where do you derive your authority as a leader? If you understand where you derive your authority, then you will necessarily account to that authority. And that is one of the issues that we have around today. Many Western nations, in the pursuit of freedom for the people, embrace democracy, which they have considered to be the best form of government, because it is supposed to be a government of the people, for the people, and by the people. But what if somehow the system is manipulated and the power is taken away from the people? The people are only meant to believe that they have the power when they truly don't have the power. What happens? Leaders become reckless and they want to make sure that they respect the source of their authority. We must begin to have conversations around this distance and ensure that authority comes from the people. And then you ask yourself, what is the true test of your competence as a leader? We are living in complicated times. Remember, true leaders don't make excuses. True leaders don't make excuses. They don't complain and they don't blame. We cannot afford to blame our results, our failure on the issues we are supposed to be providing solutions to. If that happens, it means you failed the test of leadership. If you fail the test, get the knowledge, build the capacity, do the right thing. The right thing might mean that you even resign from your position. Which you must understand this, that there has to be a real test of your competence, and you have to know that test of competence. George Washington, at a terrible time in the history of the United States, led the people quench the violence that came against the people, and the nation was secured. That's it. That's a test of competence. In the days of JF, in the days of Martin Luther King Jr., the days of slave trade, the days when liberty was an expensive, when it was a luxury, people like him stood the test of time to the extent that it cost his life. But that's the truth. Test of competence. How do you relate with people in a way that is positive and in a way that is constructive? Because your focus is to ensure that liberty is extended. And what are you doing about sustainability? We must think about the future. We must think about the next generation. Like I told you, leaders are tenants of time and competence. We must therefore develop the capacity to solve the problems of today while not sacrificing tomorrow. We cannot afford to take all the loans we can to run our governments today and forget that there is a generation that must have to repay those loans. If we do that, it is terrible. It is wickedness. It is unconscionable. And most importantly, what is the place of God in my performance? Many times we do little to think in this way, that there is a God to whom we owe an account at the end of the day. What is the place of God in your performance as a leader, irrespective of who you are leading and where you're leading? This is very important. So I challenge you today to begin to think about the place of God in your performance as a leader. If we bring God in and bring love in, everything will be all right. I love the words of Bruce Button. He said, love for the people, love for the community, and love for God is the power that changes the world. You cannot lead people you don't love. It's our responsibility to love people, not criticize them, not seek for ways to terrorize them, not seek for ways to victimize them. And fighting for freedom, you must take into account that is our responsibility to protect the vulnerable and the weak, to preserve those who cannot fight for themselves. The strong must realize that the weak is their responsibility and not otherwise. That's why I told you that your view, your perspective, your perception of people is important in leading. So what is your role as a leader? What is your role as a leader? Your role as a leader is to influence people to produce the right results. The influence of leadership is key to how we perform anyway, beginning with the family. And leadership is needed wherever a responsible decision has to be made. If there is a responsible decision that must be made, then there is a need for leadership. And the purpose of that, we must not forget, is to see that tasks are accomplished through people. Through leadership, we hopefully get things done through people to the specification of cost and time we intend. Leadership is building people through the accomplishment of tasks. In other words, as a leader, your idea in our complicated time is to help people become more creative, more innovative, more sustainable in their thinking as we deal with the issues we have today. As they pursue their businesses, pursue their careers, there has to be a way that you help in bringing the right balance to the issues of life. That is what leadership is about. That is what leadership is about. And as a leader, you have people following you voluntarily. You're true. You are the first among others who are following. So you're a part of a team. Every leader is a part of a team. And that leader who measures himself by a different standard, who makes rules that others will keep and he will not keep those rules, has taken himself out of the team and therefore lost his authority, his right to lead. So you see, when we talk about absentee leaders and those who've taken a lead without even realizing it, those that judge themselves by a higher standard, that is why the world is the way it is. Because we have people who are focused, who abuse their position. So a leader, as a leader, you must therefore understand your purpose in leadership. You must therefore pursue a vision that will enable you to achieve sustainable outcome as a leader. Remember that leaders are tenants of time and context. Sustainability of outcomes is strengthened always by the fact that life is not static. It is dynamic. Leaders therefore must manage change productively to ensure sustainability. We have a tomorrow. There is a tomorrow to come. We cannot afford to abuse the chances and opportunities we have today. We must respond to the perceived needs of today while building the capacity for work that must be done tomorrow. Some of those capacities are built in us. So we ensure it's built in other people. But at the end of the day, it is always about building capacity. So we must look at ourselves as leaders of our time. And there are a few things that we must do to make that happen. One of them is restoring the right values of individual performance and interpersonal relationships. We're going to be dealing with more of these issues and the panel that is following right after this keynote. And we must reestablish high standards and business, governance, and social behavior. We must get back to values. We must establish reliable systems for ensuring superior performance in a consistent basis, irrespective of whether it's a developed world, developing or not developing world. Makes no difference. And also, we must adopt good discipline as the norm of our daily life. A leader must be disciplined. We must focus on performance, the fulfilling of the objectives of our responsibility. We must focus on people. We must focus on the stakeholders. Remember, the world only moves forward when we take responsibility. Today is our chance to make a difference. Today is our opportunity to redefine things. Today is our chance, not tomorrow. We that are alive at this time, in this age, in this generation, to all belong the issues in this generation. And no matter what we do, no matter what we pursue, we must realize that this is a fundamental idea that changes the world. This is the spirits that are driving productivity and progress through the ages. We cannot abandon those ideas right now. So I want to thank you for tuning in. There's still a lot for us to do. Right after this keynote, I'm going to be joined in a special panel discussion, from by a number of amazing gentlemen and women from various places. So I ask you to stay tuned and continue to watch because we are into something today that will change your life. I thank you once again for joining. My name remains Dr. Brian Rubin, and I'll see you again very soon. Thank you. Thank you.